Welcome to Memorable Marketing by MediaGroup. On today's episode, we have Nikki Harrold. Nikki has a wealth of experience in a variety of industries, mostly doing online, social, looking at data, and now she's a marketing director as well. I'm very much looking forward to our conversation. I hope you do too.
Decisions by committee are impossible. What's important is to get that input from all sides of the business before you make a decision.
Where we talk a little bit more about your approach to marketing as a whole, what you've learned in your career, and perhaps if there's any sort of overall approach or learning that you have about marketing and advertising, now would be the good time to share it.
I think there's two things that I would say are comprehensively worth taking away from specifically what I take away from my own career and experience so far. The first one is you cannot walk this walk alone, ever. My favorite way to look at marketing is, and it's maybe a very American explanation, but like look at it as a potluck. And if a potluck is not a word that most people are familiar with, it's basically a gathering of people and everybody brings something to the table. So it's not one host that cooks for 20, 30 people, but it's the 20, 30 people all bringing something small to put on the table. And so you have a potluck together. That, I believe, is what will make a very, very successful business strategy or marketing strategy. If you only have one head of marketing that makes all the decisions and has all the firepower, but doesn't have enough, input from all the different areas, I don't think you can be successful. So my approach, whether that's for content planning, whether that's for advertising, whether that's for brand values, is to really bring all the experts into the table and kind of have the data fed into your marketing strategy, whether that's customer support, whether that's sales, whether that's the CFO, because finances and the profit loss conversation is equally important as how many satisfied customers you have or how many horrible reviews you need to negate. How important that social media post is, right? So have a potluck approach to understanding what you need for your business. That also values other people's voices, and in turn, those people feel valued themselves and will actually want to collaborate. That would be my first one. Does that resonate? Do you feel?
Very much so. And perhaps just to add on to it, I would say to compare it a little bit politically, you can have a very good dictator that is very successful in terms of bringing good things to a country. Singapore might be a good example of this. But the success of that one dictator is really determined by the quality of that one person. Whereas in a system of democracy, in a system where everyone gets together and challenges ideas and works together, there's a culture of the best ideas can win. That also makes you, slower and then sometimes less efficient and so on. But there's not so much the huge potential downside of that flip of the coin where you get the bad one, and that can set back a company.
Yeah. And I would say that decisions by committee are impossible, right? I'm not advocating to have 30 people in a room trying to come to an agreement, because that's not possible. But this is why you have, in some regards, a hierarchy, and in some regards, you simply have to have a business decision, right? There's been lots and lots of times where the business decision was not what I recommended as a marketer, but there was no good reason, in the sense of, there were more downsides to what we were proposing in marketing than what the business needed or could carry on. So sometimes you take the 80%, you satisfy 80% of the requests or the needs, and there will be some people who will be left out. But the next turnaround, those are probably the ones who will get what they want, and somebody else is going to be left out. So the decision still needs to be made by one person, right? And that person has to have a business thinking cap on. What's important is to get that input from all sides of the business before you make a decision.
Yeah, what you're saying makes sense. I mean, you need to hear different stories, but at the end of the day, some person needs to decide and choose a direction, and everyone's noses need to go into that direction.
Yeah, and that's democracy in the ultimate way, right? Like, you do the best you can for the majority. Now, on the other side, I would say that the other lesson I took away in my career, and I think this is more of a personal and professional development for me as a person, so probably for other people too. So I'm now, hitting my 20-year tenure in marketing. I can have these wonderful, boastful statements of I've worked in, 7 different countries and, experienced so and so many cultures. But, as I'm getting to the point where I'm looking to continue my career as a marketing director, and I do wish to be, a VP or a CMO at some point, right? Help a younger generation, help the next generation to maybe learn the things I got to learn. The job market doesn't work the same way as it did when I started out. And that's not necessarily because the times have changed or the job market has changed. It surely has. But part of that is there's a lot of more lower level entry jobs, specifically in marketing, where you do a lot more executionary work, where you can gain a lot of relevant experience. But as you're kind of growing up and you want to continue in that leadership role, the market narrows down, the job market narrows down significantly. So there's this old adage that says your network is your net worth. And I know a lot of salespeople use this, but I find as a marketer, your career will only continue to grow and expand long term. Like we are talking 30, 40 years in this career. If you have that network of marketers and colleagues and friends and people who touched your lives and might not actually be in marketing, but with whom you share a business sense, because that carries you forward into your future. Now, often if you're, within a specific region, so it's the Netherlands or it's within the European Union or it's always been North America, that helps, right? That regionality actually really helps further that network. For me, that's one of the big downsides. I would not trade my career. I would not change anything in my past. But the fact that I have lived in 7 different countries, I have a little bit of a network in 7 different countries. That doesn't help me into my future.
Nikki, this is so recognizable because I have also lived in 7 countries. Just in recent years decided that because I have 2 boys, I was thinking they need to build up roots somewhere. But similarly, I also recognize that you become, master of, what is it called again? Of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, expert of everything and nothing. Yeah.
At the same time, the benefits of having experienced many different cultures, of knowing different ways of working, different types of industries are gigantic. And I think connecting not only people, as you were pointing out, but also different ideas, different strategies is the job when you get more senior. That's okay, I've seen this before. This is connected to this in this way. I'm going to suggest this idea and move that way. And that's the only way you get that is by having exposure. So that's very much on the plus side. But on the downside, you're not building up a local network. I'm not the person to go on Sundays to golf with people that I've known for 30 years because of exactly this reason. Yeah.
And I think not one side is wrong or right? But I think it's just something I would tell my younger self to say, hey, Nikki, you can continue, jumping countries and jumping different marketing industries, and you can collect all this extremely varied experience. But just know that 20 years from now, it will be harder to, whatever it is, right, to get the next job, to keep, stepping to the next level of your job, because you won't have that network to advocate on your behalf, right?
Yeah.
And vice versa. As I said, I wouldn't make any other change in my career. I'm very happy. I feel myself well-rounded because I got to experience so many industries and so many cultures. It's ingrained in me. I was born into a bilingual family. I don't think I could have sat still on my buttocks, in one country for my entire career. But it is something that I wish I would have known, because and then you make a conscious choice instead of, well, now I'm facing this future. That's fine. I'll make the best of it. It would have been nice to have the choice to choose it.
And I suppose it was possible to have some mitigating strategies, like, keep in touch and so on.
Or stay in 3 countries instead of 7.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's another good one. I think we are a bit lucky, though, because I think, I've been working remote for 20 years, but it has become more and more acceptable and normal. And that, I think, opens up possibilities for people that perhaps don't have so much of a local network as well.
Yeah, but that also varies strictly by country. So there are countries that are more open to hybrid or remote. There's countries that are a lot less. I mean, I would always advocate that marketing is one of those few jobs that I do not believe that you have to sit in an office for. I do believe that gathering together sometimes does bring creativity and conversations, and it builds that connection with the other people around you that you're supposed to work with day to day. So I'm not saying 100% remote or only remote, right? I would not advocate for that, but it definitely has the possibility for remote and hybrid work. I feel like the pendulum has swung a lot in the last 3 years with the pandemic. In America, we worked remote. It was no problem. I also then worked in all office all day, every day. So I've had all the experiences. With the pandemic, I feel like employers have been forced one way and are now very much swinging the other way. It will find its balance. I believe that. I trust that. In some countries, they have enshrined now the right for hybrid work. We are not in the Netherlands. Some others in the European Union are, which is great. But there will be a balance again. I believe that. And I believe that marketing is definitely one that can absolutely benefit from a hybrid environment.
Yeah, unless you want to be best friends with your legal and compliance officers, then you're just going to have to suck it up and go sit next to them.
But you can do that once a week instead of every day.
Okay, probably good for diet too. There's a lot of cake involved in making friends.
Well, we usually did coffee and cakes. Sometimes some beer Friday evenings. But yeah.
Exactly. It's probably for the best thing. All right, Nikki. This is a great conversation. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, very much enjoyed your insights.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you for listening or watching Memorable Marketing by MediaGroup. On this episode, we had Nikki Harrold. I very much enjoyed our conversation. I hope you did too. For future episodes, feel free to subscribe and, of course, like the video. You can find our website for the agency at MediaGroupWW.com. Get in touch for any advice, strategy, marketing work. We'll be happy to help you.